So my name is Ed Garon. I come from the United States and the state of Montana. When I did my first Camino, I actually lived in California, and that's where my son died, and he was 22, and I couldn't figure out how to live with that. So I heard about the Camino, and I decided that I had to do something that was out of my comfort zone. I had to do something really different. So I read about the Camino and I said, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I also have a daughter, and she told me she spoke to a priest about the Camino, and that priest told her that when he went to do the Camino, all he brought was a small bag, and he never made any reservations or anything because he felt that everything was in the hands of God. And so I felt that, okay, if it was good enough for him, it's good enough for me, and that's how I decided to do it the first time. I had no idea about it at all. I just decided to let whatever was going to happen, happen. And I just had many dramatic experiences. One experience I had is I stayed at a hostel that was run by these nuns, and attached to that hostel was a very old church. When I went into the church, there was a huge crucifix in front of a bulletin board, and on the bulletin board were these little very bright green post-it notes. And I went up to it to see what it was, what all those post-it notes were, and it was pilgrims had written little notes. There was an elderly nun right next to it, and I asked her if it was okay if I wrote something, and she said yes. And so I started to write something to my son, and I couldn't do it. I broke down, and she came over and tried to comfort me. She didn't speak English, and I didn't speak Spanish, and she disappeared for a while, and a whole group of nuns came over and they surrounded me, and they asked me, what was wrong, and I told them, and they said, well, did you write a note to your son? And I said, yeah, I did. It's hanging up there. And they said, well, we're going to get that note. While we're doing that, you go up these stairs, and there's 2 bells up there. And when you get up to the top, you ring those 2 bells for your son. And I said, well, how can you find my note? There's thousands of notes there. And they told me, oh, don't worry about it. We'll find it. So I did. I went up the stairs, and sure enough, there were these 2 beautiful bells, and I just rang them. And I went downstairs, and there were the nuns, and they had that note. I still don't know. I have no explanation of how they could know that particular note was written by me, but somehow they did. And then they told me that their nightly prayers for now on would include a prayer for my son. And so that was very moving to me. Then in the morning, I slept there, and in the morning someone kicked my feet and said, hey, the nuns are looking for you at the church. And so I went to the church, and they told me that they wanted to sing me some songs, and which they did. And it was quite beautiful, but that was just one of many things that happened to me there, many of which I just felt that it was my son was there with me and talking to me and helping me get through it. So I decided that it was so meaningful to me, and it actually got me through the issue. It's still painful, as you can tell. I would try to do a Camino every year after that, as long as I was able to do it. I wasn't able to do it last year because of COVID, but here I am again doing it. This year, in the past few months, I I found that I had cancer, and I just got over cancer treatment. And I'm still recovering from it, but I figured, well, this is the place I needed to be to help me get over it. I realized that there's something about the spiritual process of going through this that brings people together and helps us to get through the harder parts of life.